And welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now we have a 2011 Ford Mondeo behind us. We have a failure sheet here in my hand and it's failed a few things on the NCT. Now let's see. We have an airbag light on, we have an anti-lock brake system light on, we have a stability control light on, and we have worn wishbones. Now, ABS light and stability control, same thing. If we have a problem with one of the wheels or wiring or something, it will bring on the traction control essentially. It could also bring on a malfunction for the cruise control, so that, you know, that's one separate issue. And we have an airbag fault and we have a worn wishbone. Now, I most probably do these in separate videos. I most probably do the wishbone bushing in a separate video, and we'll do the lights in this video. So this is the 2-litre diesel 2011. We'll plug it in, we'll have a look, and we'll go from there. Simple, sorted. All right, let's go in and see what fault we've got. So we've got a Ford 2011 Mondeo. All right, we'll go into our anti-lock brakes first. See what code we've got. Ignition is on. Codes, memory codes. Left front wheel ABS sensor. Let's go into data, see what, might take this for a drive and see if we're getting dropouts or what the case may be. Oh, I can see a problem already. Let's just get this so it's a little bit easier to read. We'll custom it, we'll deselect all. We'll just click our sensors, list view. Bingo. Can you see anything wrong there? Now, we are stationary, the car is behind me, but yet for some reason the front left wheel is doing 158 miles an hour, but every other wheel is stationary. So either this is doing some serious donuts, well no, it can't be. There's only one wheel spinning. I don't know what the computer is reading, but anyway, so there we go. So what we can do is we'll I don't know, yeah, I might take it down the road for a spin and we'll just see if we can communicate with the other sensors and just see what is essentially happening. But we definitely have a problem with the left-hand wheel sensor. Now that's a good indication at the minute anyway that our wiring is kind of okay, because we are getting a reading. Now we are getting a completely wrong reading. I wouldn't go 100% off that, but that kind of gives us an idea that maybe our wiring is okay, but we will check our wiring, obviously, because you never can be 100% sure until you check it. So let's go out of here, we'll go into airbags, which is the RCM module on these, which is the resistance module. That's how this particular car checks everything. There you go, RCM. Okay, well look, there we go. Now, this is where it's important to know your system and important to know where what your car is. Because as you can see, we've gone into our airbag module, which is our RCM, and we're getting an ABS control module fault. Now that doesn't make sense. But in this car, it does. Because when you get a wiring diagram, this is why it is important, you will see from a wiring diagram what sensors are shared, if they've got common grounds, if they've got common powers, or whatever the case may be, you can tell from the wiring diagram. Right, what we'll do is, before we get into this, I'll try and get us a wiring diagram. I'll explain why we have this coming up on our airbag module. I'll explain that in a minute. But what I first want to do is, I'm going to take this for a spin, and we're going to read some of the live data coming from the ABS. So let's get this set up. This should have kept its memory of what I've done. Should have done. I go back to data. Yep, there we go, it's kept it. So what I'll do is we'll set this up in the car so you can actually see this moving. Hopefully we'll see this moving. We'll see these three moving anyway, and we'll see what happens. We'll even graph it just to make it a little bit easier. Always easy to see with the graph. So this is our suspect one. Well, we know it's definitely, there's a problem somewhere, because as you can see, we are reading 158 mile an hour. This car can't do 158 mile an hour. So yeah, so we will take this for a drive. We'll have a look at these. We'll come back and I'll explain why we're having that other issue with our airbags, and hopefully get a wiring diagram and quickly go through everything with you. Sorted. Hopefully you can see that I'm struggling because I have to hold the camera. I haven't got my screen record set up. I'm just going to quickly go down the road and you'll see, well, hopefully, I've just pulled out the garage, but hopefully we'll see the other three sensors kind of follow the same pattern and be nice and smooth and see no dropouts in them. So this is going to be tricky. And of course now I'm not wearing my seat belt, so everyone's going to moan at that, but I am not on the main road, so just put it back on there so everyone's going to shut up. But there we go. As you can see, I'm not going fast because I can't, but as you can see, they're all reading more or less the same, all nice and smooth, so we're okay. Now when you do turn the wheel, don't be surprised if you see they're reading slightly different, because the wheels are turning at a different speed. So don't worry about that. But again, let's just go back towards the shed and see. Hopefully I'm keeping that on there now. And there we go. All reading the same apart from our dodgy sensor. So what we need to do now is we need to get this on the lift, and we need to see exactly what's going on. Is it a sensor issue? Is it a wiring issue? Is it a control issue? We don't know. We need to now find out. That's going to be the hardest thing. See exactly what is wrong. We've now done the test. We know where to look for. We just need to see exactly what is wrong. Now, one of the handy things to remember is when you turn the ignition on, as you can see, our airbag light comes on. It will then go off. I start the car, and after a few seconds it will come back on. Now that's just, you can't be 100% on this, but this is just a quick idea that if it goes off, that does kind of suggest that our module is okay, and we do have a problem with, you know, like one of our sensors or a crash sensor, or, you know, something it's not happy about in the system. But that does indicate that our module is okay, because our module is working. It's picking up all the information it needs to pick up. We then start the car, and as it does its kind of diagnosis, it does like an auto test. It then realizes a problem, and it then switches our airbag light on. It's just a quick indication to maybe know that you've another thing rather than our module at fault. I'm not worried about our module in this case. I am going straight for the ABS sensor. And there we go, look, we have our ABS light on, and we also have our traction control light on. Just one thing you want to keep in mind is when you're doing diagnostics, especially if you're doing it for a long time, you want a battery maintainer. Now what this is a battery charger and also a maintainer. So if you're programming anything or doing diagnostics for a long time and your ignition is on, well, this will keep the battery up to spec for you, because if you're testing sensors and stuff and your battery drops below a certain voltage, you could be having serious issues, and you could be getting fault readings and fault codes and all sorts. So this is what I've got. I got this from Hubitools, and this is what I'm going to be using. You'll be seeing a lot more of this on my videos now, but it's just something to bear in mind, just to kind of keep your battery topped up, because otherwise you can fall into a trap and get caught very easily. I've just taken off the wheel to get everything ready to set up the scope, and this is what I found. This sensor looks like it's been butchered. There should be like a plastic 90-degree cap on that to protect them wires. Also, as you kind of look up here, you can start seeing some rubbing, and I'll just get it better, but it looks like the wire has been repaired. Now, we could just have really high resistance in this, and it's just a case of fixing the wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few simple checks first. What I am going to do is just rip off that cowling there, just to see the state of the wires. I'll do that, I'll turn the camera back on and we'll do some simple checks and we'll see what the story is. Okay people, Bob's been round again. You can just see the absolute state of this repair is just shocking, to say the least. So what I'm going to do is, it might look like our ABS sensor is okay. I have to check this wiring first because, well, you can just see why. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check powers and grounds very, very quickly and see what happens. I did have the scope all set up, but don't know if we need it now. I think we're just going to have to redo that connection, and well, we're going to have to redo that connection from the looks of it anyway, and then test the sensor from there. Right, what I'm going to do is just quickly check power and grounds. Pin 1, which is here, should be battery voltage, and pin 2 is ground. This is a Hall effect sensor. Now I'm using the kit I got from Hubitools, so I'm using the Hubby auto tester and the wiring kit tester. So we'll just turn this bad boy on, turn it to volts, and what I'm expecting to see is battery voltage. So this is ground and this is, as you can see, absolutely nothing. Can't see a thing. Right, so we have a problem with the wiring. What I will do is I want to check my ground, so we'll put this to battery positive. If you can see that, I've now got it on battery positive. Hopefully the camera's showing that. We're minus 11.64 volts, which is perfect. So that means our ground is good. So that means we have a good ground. Now I'm going to check. Well, now we know we've got a good ground. We know we have to have a problem with the actual power side. So we'll just check that. I'll just ground this off something else. Let's ground this off the battery terminal. As you can see, absolutely zero. Made no difference. Right, so we have a power side problem. And for those who are going to say now, well, you should load test it. There's no point load testing if I'm not getting anything. We're going to have a problem internally in here. Let's get you in a bit more. So yes, I'm more convinced now. Let's move the light, if you can still see, that we have more so a power wiring problem. There we go. Now it's actually split up here. Get that camera in a bit better than that. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. There's our 12 volt feed broke. Right. I still don't like this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to now test from there to see if we get 12 volts. So I'm still going to use its own earth, even though we know the earth is now good. So I've still got this connected to the earth, but I want to now see if we can get power here. If we get power here, we know we can just repair this wire and, well, don't know if we're going to be okay yet, but we know we need to sort this problem out first, however you look at it. So, again, now hopefully, right, we're still not getting anything. So, might not be getting, aha! There we go. Ooh. There we go, people. We have our battery voltage. Now the reason the battery voltage is low is because I took off the maintainer because it's quite noisy, and the fan, you won't be able to hear me. Now we have got a load of green crusties here, so this connection isn't great. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this back, I'm gonna peel this wire off, I'm gonna see if I can get better connection. But we do have voltage coming to there, which is fantastic. But we are about a volt down, so we are still losing a volt from somewhere. But that could just be the fact that we've just got a really cruddy connection. So once I get that kind of peeled back, turn the camera back on and we'll retest it. Right, just an absolute mess. See if I can kind of get a bit closer. They did try and solder it, if it focuses. But as you can see, very, very badly. Then they just put some electrical tape around it. They didn't even seal it.
I have peeled back this and the voltage is absolutely perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these connections out and I'm going to join 2 new bits of wiring. Not going to show that because I am doing a separate video shortly on soldering, because as I'm trying to solder this, I'm just going to get in the way. I'm not going to be able to record it properly. So I'll do a separate video on soldering, which will be a lot better, and then if I ever do any soldering, I can just refer to that video and you'll know exactly where to go. So I'm going to cut it here to cut these bad bits off. I'm going to take this off because this is just no good. It's not serving any purpose. And I'm going to kind of redo it and get it all back together again. Then we can test the sensor properly and we can go from there. Right, it's all done. I know it might sound stupid, but I'm really proud of that because I know with proper connections. I will post pictures on Instagram, but as you can see, I've put special sealer and everything. I will go through all that in a separate video. The stuff I used for this was kind of a lot, but I'll explain all in a separate video. But whoever's done it has, you know, they've just smashed everything. This shouldn't be like this. There should be a special clip here. There should be a special clip there. They've just butchered everything. I have enough clearance, so I'm just going to leave it. I've cable tied it at the back. It should be fine. It's not catching anything, but it's just a mess. So what I've got left to do now is put this special tape over it. This is special vulcanizing tape. This is not ordinary tape, kind of waterproof and stuff. So I'm going to tape all that up and then we're going to test it. But like I said, I will go through in a completely separate video on how I did this and how I solder. Right, we are all done. Vulcanized and tied up. I've turned the wheel left to right. Absolutely perfect. Now I just want you to concentrate here and on the back. You can see I've had to cable tie it, but just look around here. I'm going to show you on the other side. Oh, and also look, oh, you can't see, but you can just see the wire of the connector. Let me show you on the other side what this is supposed to look like. It's connected to the sensor so you can see we've got a big plastic shield on here, like a 45 degrees. Obviously that's missing. This whole bracket here is missing, and the bracket at the back just been smashed. No need for it. I don't know what's been happening with it, but that's what it's supposed to look like. But that doesn't matter. We're all done now. So now we've got to do is test it. Right, so what we need to do now is let's test it. So we're going to go on pin 1 again. And we're going to see if we've got battery voltage. Boom, look at that, battery voltage. Now we're just under 11 volts because I've had the ignition on, I haven't had my maintainer on. But that doesn't matter. We're at battery voltage. Now what I want to do is go to pin 2 and see if we've got a signal. Now on pin 2. Now unfortunately I'm not going to be able to spin the wheel. Oh, we're too high a voltage. Let me change my voltage. Now, I'm not going to be able to spin the wheel properly because the way the sensor is, as you can see, with it being on top and my lead's there, I can't put the wheel on and spin it properly because I'm going to lose my lead. I could go inside the engine bay. I'm just going to move this by hand. We should get some sort of movement. So at the minute I'm just looking for something. Doesn't really matter what. And there we go. There's our square wave. There's our square wave. I'm just moving the disc. So it's the Hall effect sensor we've got in there. And there we go. That's it. We're looking good. We just got to turn the ignition on now. Put the wheels back on. We'll turn the car on. We'll see if the lights are still on. We might have to reset the fault codes and then kind of go from there. They might kind of reset themselves in the sense of they might go off the dash, but the fault codes will still be there. But we'll just see what the lights do. So I'm going to bang these wheels on and then, yeah, we're getting there. Sorted. Right, so let's see what happens. So our lights come on, as they should. Car kind of does a self-test and they go off. Now the problem we had before is, I don't know if I got it on camera, but the ABS light and the traction control light wouldn't go off. The airbag light did go off, but as soon as you started it, after 3 or 4 seconds it came back on. So let's start it now. Apart from the service button or the service light, we're all good. No more lights, no nothing. I'm going to take this for a drive and we'll see what happens. Right, I couldn't take it for a long drive because as you can see we've only got 7 miles left in the tank. So there you go, but the lights didn't come back on, so that's great. I kind of knew they wouldn't because, you know, they went off straight away. I haven't cleared the faults yet. The faults are still in it, but obviously the car recognizes there isn't an issue
and it communicates everything, and it's absolutely perfect. Now let's go and look at them wiring diagrams and see why we had the ABS light and the airbag light on at the same time. Right, unfortunately I couldn't get the wiring diagrams on my computer properly. I'm still kind of figuring everything out and how to film it properly, but I was only going to say the ABS module and the airbag module basically share the same resistance module, which is the RCM. So that's why you can have, say, an airbag light come on because you've got an airbag fault, and also you can have an ABS light on and not have an ABS light fault, or vice versa, like we did. We had an ABS fault, but it brought our airbag light on, just because when the computer was trying to send a signal down to that speed sensor, it couldn't grab one back, and it didn't really know what was going, so it set the fault, and it uses the same module. So all the airbags, the clock spring, the yaw control, all that is done by that one module, which shares, or that one shared module from the ABS and the airbag system. That's why it comes up. Now, once I kind of get my wiring diagrams and everything sorted and kind of get them on the computer properly so I can show everything, it'll be a million times better. We didn't particularly need it for any wire tracing, but it would have just been easy to show you the modules that was on the line. But I will get there in the end. Don't worry, we will get it sorted. We will get all the screen recording sorted. We're just going to take a bit more time, a bit more messing, but I'll get there. So that's it. So look, hope it helps. Thumbs up, subscribe, the usual. Don't forget, links up here, links down below. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.